My mom called me late one evening to strut, saying they just rushed my dad to the hospital. There was no doubt in my mind I needed to be there with him, so I shoved some overnight clothes and essentials into my backpack and hit the road. I was desperate to get there without stopping, but it was an 8-hour trip, so about 5 hours into it I felt my eyelids getting really heavy. I turned up the radio to help me stay awake, but when I felt my eyes closing again, I knew I had to stop. I parked and checked to see that my door was locked. I was on a quiet road surrounded by dense trees, and even though I hadn't passed another vehicle for a while, this place was pretty creepy. I set my alarm to go off in an hour at 3:45 am, then flung my jacket over me and fell asleep. I was awakened by a tapping sound on the car window, and in my groggy state it took me a few seconds to figure out what it was. I pulled the jacket off my face and peered at the window. A woman was standing there in the dead of night, tapping on the glass. My heart started pounding and I didn't know what to do. I was in the middle of nowhere and couldn't see any cars around, so I didn't know how this woman could be out here at this time. When she saw me looking at her, she didn't change her reaction and just continued tapping on the glass. I couldn't just drive off and ignore her, so despite how unsettling this felt, I turned the engine on, lowered the window about a quarter of the way. She stopped tapping and crouched down and peered through the window with this creepy smile. I asked her if there was a problem. She nodded her head. I asked her if she wanted me to call someone for her, and she shook her head and then started tapping on the glass again. My phone alarm went off and I reached over to the passenger seat to switch it off. As I did this, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the woman wave her hand. Suddenly this man burst out from behind the trees and charged at my car. I heard a smashing sound and saw the shattered glass all over the passenger side. This man had broken the window and was reaching inside my car trying to grab at me. I tried to squirm out of his way, but I felt a tug in my hair. The woman had stuck her hand through the partly open window and had a hold of me. I was kicking out at the man but also trying to pull myself free of the woman's grip. It was a nightmare. Then I managed to press the window button to go up. As it rose, she let go of me and tried to jerk her hand away, but she was too slow and 2 of her fingers were trapped between the window and the door. She let out this painful wail and furiously tried to wiggle them free. The man stopped trying to grab me and pulled back. I saw him walk in front of my car and head over to the woman. He pulled something out of his pocket and lowered it to her fingers. I heard this horrible slicing sound and realized it was a knife. He was slicing through the woman's trapped fingers. I put one hand on the wheel and got ready to floor it and then opened the window just enough for it to free her fingers before I drove away. I was so disturbed by it all that I made the rest of the journey without stopping. It was only when I reached my destination that I allowed myself to let what actually happened sink in. I didn't want to tell my mom about it, she had enough worries. So I went over to my uncle's house instead. In the morning I could see the mess they'd made to my car and to me. I had cuts on my arm from the broken glass that I'd been too adrenaline-fueled to notice. There was blood dripping down the driver's side window and lumps of stuck-on flesh. My uncle called the police for me and they said they'd investigate further. They haven't had any leads, so those people are probably still out there roaming, doing who knows what. I don't drive at night anymore and I never will again. I'll always make the trip home in the daytime, always. I don't want to think about what could have happened to me if I hadn't reacted quickly and managed to get away from them.